Welcome to Retired Life. Wish you were here. Retirement is something we planned for years. The trips, the routines, the life we imagine building together. But what happens when the person you planned it with is no longer part of the future? Today's conversation is about that moment, and most importantly, what comes next. Before we jump in, this episode is brought to you by Pool Engineering and Surveying. Life doesn't always go according to plan, but having the right people in your corner makes all the difference, whether you're building something new or navigating change. Pool Engineering helps you move forward with confidence. Pool Engineering and Surveying helps you build what's next. Welcome to Retired Life. Wish you were here. I'm Kim. Today's episode is deeply personal and one I think so many people will relate to, whether they're experienced loss through death, divorce, or illness. I'm joined by Tammy McCabe, who walked through this heartbreaking journey of losing her husband Greg to early Alzheimer's. And also with us today is Tristan Eldridge, life coach, who's going to help us understand not just the emotion, but how we actually begin to move forward. So, Tammy, let's start with you telling us about you and Greg and what your plans were.
Well, our plans were we moved to Florida to be by the grandkids and have retire after a few years and travel. And we loved to travel. We'd always go to conferences, anesthesia conferences, and pick where we'd go. So that's what our plan was. It was to do a lot of traveling.
So you were getting yourself set up.
Oh, yeah.
And what were you looking forward to the most?
Going overseas. We had planned an Italy trip, going to Spain, going to Paris, which I just recently got back from. Just a lot of traveling. And my husband would plan the trips at a golf course.
Around the golf course.
Our trips were always planned around the golf course, which I didn't mind. So
Tristan, when somebody has built that kind of shared vision, what does it mean emotionally when that future just starts coming apart? It's not, it's not going to be that.
Yeah, that is one of the top 3 emotionally traumatic things that can happen to a human, for sure. And there are 2 types. There's the type that surprises you and comes out of nowhere, and it's dramatic, such as an accident, like a car accident, and there's an immediate removal of that human presence from our life. And then there's the slow and oftentimes even more traumatic, where a spouse or a child just kind of eases away over a period of time. And both of them are traumatic, and both of them impact us in different ways, for sure.
And divorce too. I mean, people, you have a whole plan, and then
divorce is the death of that relationship, yes. And it needs to be grieved as such. Yes, ma'am.
I think this is absolute. One of us is going first.
Right.
No matter what. Every family is going to deal with this at some point, some way. And so we just have to think about how to move and navigate after that point.
you can't have love without grief eventually.
Correct. And if a person, the survivor, doesn't go through the grieving process, which, we've all heard of the 5 stages of grief, but it is so true. You've got to go through the grieving process, and one of those that's really not on that, which I like to add, is forgive ourselves. There's somehow we hold on to what we should have done something differently, or we could have done something differently, and so the spouse is gone, but we're still sitting around holding on to that pain. And being able to forgive ourselves is a first step into being able to truly move forward.
And this is with Greg, and then when did you make a shift that everything was going to change?
It was, he had a high blood pressure, but before then he was forgetting stuff. But it wasn't anything that I thought was important. It was denial. And then after he had the high blood pressure crisis, it just changed. And that's when I knew that something was wrong. But when I found out he had early onset through the CT PET scan, that's what hit me in the gut. And I knew our life would never be the same. I didn't realize the death would be that close. But, the doctors told you that it's not a long process. He could go down as quick as a year. So I knew his time was limited, and that just changed your whole life. You're not working anymore. He's not working anymore. You're taking him to doctors, you're getting tests, and you're babysitting them.
What does it feel like living like you're in between? Because they're not gone, but you've lost them. I mean, that's a fact. You don't have the same person with you for those last few years.
You're incredibly lonely.
So, Tristan, how do you help people process this kind of slow loss where they're grieving and they're still caregiving?
Well, if the survive, I like to refer to it as the surviving spouse. If the surviving spouse during this time period is wise, they get help, right? They have somebody holding their hand through this process, whether it's a therapist or a support group or someone like myself, like a therapist, life coach, to help them navigate during this time, because they do. As Tammy said, she felt so alone.
I didn't get counseling. That's probably something I should have done, because it took me over a year to get up and do things.
Yes. Yeah. So I would highly recommend to the listeners that if you find yourself in the beginning stages of this type of scenario, or in the middle, or even towards the end, it's never too late to start to realize that you don't have to do this by yourself. You don't have to do it alone. And having children isn't the same as, it's a different dynamic. You need a unbiased person that you can just scream, cry. You can just truly be authentic to, with yourself. And with your kids, what we found with kids is you aren't truly authentic. You're trying to spare them some pain, and you're trying to,
and they have their own
all
opinions
put together
on how you should be doing things.
Correct. And that tends to just make the dynamics even more, muddied, so to speak. So that would be my first advice, is if you find yourself going into this in the middle of it or towards the end of it, and you're not having some professional help, immediately my advice would be get some professional help.
Well, what do you do when it's a person like me and you're very strong and you're like, I'm so strong, I can handle this?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's a great
No,
question. That's a fantastic question. And I would say a lot of the clients that I deal with, Tammy, are strong-willed people. But at some point in time, even the strongest of people, they just break, right? And it's better to break when you have somebody that's holding your hand than to break when you're alone. And so if that's the only piece of advice I could get is, in that respect, is be sure you reach out and get yourself some professional help. That would be step number one.
And it doesn't matter when you could still talk to someone.
Correct. She
Right
certainly
now.
could. Of course, I'm sure she's still dealing with, with things that she hasn't quite fully processed yet, because there's a lot to process.
I read something that said it's still with you. You just learn to carry it.
Correct.
And I've learned to carry it.
Correct. And if we're not careful, we'll carry it into
Other relationships.
other relationships. And we always bring baggage into relationships. That's something that we all know about. But there are some things we really don't want to bring into the next relationship, and shared and unresolved grief, unresolved pain. It just causes a lot of complications up front that are unnecessarily to be there.
Yeah. And we had a podcast where she talked about the caregiving part of Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And the comment was, I am still in all the parts of the process, denial, grief.
Yeah, I never,
Of course.
I never stopped denial
I could totally understand. And I think
because
women,
I'd get a clear moment, and then you'd step back again,
Correct.
and you think maybe things are okay,
right.
and then they're not. It's like a roller coaster.
It is. It is. And I, having dealt with both survivor men and women, men are easier to deal with. I'm just going to say it. They are. Women, they have been caregivers their whole life. If you think about it, I mean, you've cared for your children, you've cared for your husband. The last person to get care is self-care is yourself. And after decades of that, you just don't know any different. It's part of who you are. It's part of your life. So now,
And did people really understand what you were going through?
I
mean,
Are you asking me?
yeah.
I think they might have, but they don't because they haven't experienced it. And
Right.
unless you experience it or
Correct.
as a coach
correct.
that listens to, hundreds of people, I just don't think nobody knows.
That's right. And she's probably, my guess is, she's got a great friend network. And she professionally and privately has a great friend network. But once again, all of the friends are going through their own life's stuff, right? And they're busy with life. And they can be sympathetic to her situation, but they cannot empathize with her because the only people who can truly empathize with her is someone who's actually gone through it personally and knows the pain and knows the ins and outs of that specific type of situation where he lost his mind before he lost his body. That's a whole nother level of pain.
So did it feel like your identity shifted overnight, or did you? I mean, I'm asking for our listeners, and how did you?
Well, I think when you're going through that, you don't have an identity, right? At that point, your identity is caregiver.
Yeah.
You don't. I never even thought about who am I or what am I going to do. It was just always Greg, 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 Greg. And then when he died, there was nothing. That was difficult.
So, Tristan, what would you say?
Right. So this is where I find people as well. If I'm fortunate enough, they find me during the situation, and if not, they find me after the situation. I have plenty on both. And after the situation, usually what comes is they sit there and they look at me and they go, I don't even know who I am. Like, who am I? What's my role? What's my purpose in life now? And so a lot of it is discussing and talking with the client about, here's an opportunity. That's the way I like to present it. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity that wasn't there before, but it is now. And you can either see it as an opportunity or it will become a liability. So if we look at it from an opportunity, a book has ended. It just is. There's no other way. We've all read books and the book ends, and sometimes we don't like the way the book ends. And guess what? We find out the author's coming out with a book too, a follow-up of the book. Well, that gives you some hope. And so if we can choose to look at it from an opportunity, then we have hope. Yeah. And that's kind of where I like to kind of try to steer my clients is let's take a more hopeful approach. So in this case, she have a wonderful book. I think everybody would love to read Tammy's book with her and her husband, and a lifetime of memories and children and shared experiences and fabulous things. I bet you it'd be a fantastic read. That book is over. Can't do anything about that. But what we can control is how we respond. So our response is, hey, let's write a new book. And how do we want that book to look? And how do we want that book to read? And now it's, in this case, Tammy's opportunity to write her own book, which is an opportunity, right? For
Right.
some people, they didn't like the life they had.
True.
They were stuck, and this is the life they just had to make do. And otherwise, when this happens, we find ourselves with a possibility of creating something that maybe Tammy has wanted to do something. For instance, I had one client that always wanted to live in the Caribbean. Always wanted to live in the Caribbean. Always saw herself living in the Caribbean. I wasn't going to go there. His kids here and husband was here. And then once the husband died, we talked about it. And she's like, this is an opportunity. I just want to go. So she did, right? But she couldn't do it while she was married because it just functionally wouldn't work out.
So, as the liability side, how does that operate?
So on the liability side, irregardless of what most people think at first, like I'll never get remarried, I'll never find another love of my life, I'll never be happy. You know, we hear the ultimates. You know, that can be true. I mean, if we speak that into existence, it will become our existence, right? So I try really hard to help people who see their life currently as a liability to shift that to a life full of hope. Because I do paint the picture of the liability of if you stay this kind of thinking, I call it stinking thinking, but if you stay here, you'll become a liability to yourself. You probably won't move on. If you do move on, you'll be a liability to your next relationship. And that's just the next relationship. Forget that. I even talk about if you've got kids and grandkids, if you've got to be hopeful for them. If not for another partner, life partner, at least move forward for your own self and for your kids and for your surviving, family members.
So so you have this kind of grief though. Now
Yes.
there's grief. This is real grief.
It is real grief.
How do you validate that and help with the guilt because there's guilt. I mean, even
survivor's
when
guilt.
your
Of course.
right.
Survivor's guilt.
Even when our parents die or something, I felt bad about going out to have a good time because they weren't having a good time.
I understand that. I think that goes back to when I was growing up, we went to funerals. That's what I remember. I remember going to funerals.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last 20, 30 years, it shifted from funerals to celebrations of life.
Yeah.
So I like to remind people that this is really an opportunity to celebrate. I would guess, based on just a little bit that I know of Tammy, that if we could hear from her husband, he'd be like, "What are you doing? Go have fun." I mean, that's what we were planning. So you go have fun for us, type thing.
I was just telling Kim, I am traveling, and I feel like Greg's seeing through my eyes.
There you
where I
go. Exactly.
And that helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
I know.
Traveling helped me out a lot.
Yes, the memories. I know for my wife and I, we have our funeral arrangements. We want to be cremated, and our deal is whoever's the survivor takes some of our ashes wherever we go on all of our trips, and we just leave a little bit of us behind. And so that gives, again, to me, that's that hopeful piece I was talking about, right?
And that's
Where
what you want.
You can share a memory with someone who's not there, right?
Right.
Sure.
So I want to kind of move away from the part of losing Greg and move into what the moment has passed, and now you realize you have to figure out what your life looks like now. And so how are you moving forward? What are some of the things you're doing that work for you? And you said travel, but you've mentioned some other things that I think it would be good for our listeners to hear.
Well, travel is number one, but grandkids pulled me out of it.
Sure.
Spending time with them, which I always did, but it was difficult when Greg was sick because I was actually watching him, couldn't focus in on watching the kids.
Certainly.
I continued to work once in a while. I'd give them 3 or 4 days a month. That was my out. And I enjoy There's a great group of girls, so I enjoy it, and I still do that.
And mahjong.
Oh,
We,
and then we
we've all
learned to play
become-
mahjong. That's something that
Yes.
you can sit down and play, and then 8 hours later, you're realizing you're still playing.
That happened to us.
But
Notice,
family-
notice she said 8 hours, but she didn't mention the 4 glasses of wine and 8 ounces.
I barely drink. You'd be lucky to see me drink a glass of wine.
We
Unless
did,
it's from France. If it's from
That's-
France, I'll drink it.
we did take a trip to Paris.
We did.
In the fall of last year.
That's so great.
The girls.
Yes.
So, how do people? And you've told us a lot, but can you give some tips on how you would tell people to start rebuilding their identities after, and even after divorce?
Yes.
Because I have a lot of friends right now going through divorce, or have gone through divorce, and now it's back.
Right. Well, I start with my number one thing is the old David Letterman top 10 list. Do you ever remember David
Yes,
Letterman?
I do.
Yes.
So we'll start with the top 10 list because probably most of your listeners all remember David Letterman and his top 10. We probably all watched the late night show with David Letterman. And probably one of the best pieces of advice, Tammy, I ever got from my therapist when I went through my divorce in my late 30s was I remember my therapist asked me some, therapy questions, how you doing and how you process. And then she said, so describe your future spouse. And embarrassingly, I started to describe this woman. So I said, well, she can't be over 5'6", and I'm kind of a small guy, so I'd rather her to be, no more than not any taller than 5'6", and not any bigger than a size 6, and I'm not partial to blondes, and I stopped myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to describe a doll. I said, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. And she said, you're right. So we need to help you determine what a top 10 list is for relationships. And I was clueless at age 38. And I just remember so here was the advice, was if you'll come up with your top 5 must-haves, these are non-negotiables. These are 5 must-haves, and they really are the core of who you are, your values, and things that you feel very strongly about. Those are your top 5. And then 6 through 10 are your high preferences. These are things like must love travel, or must love animals, or no children younger than mine, or no children at all, or something at home, however. And it's age specific. So at age 38, I sat down to come up with my top 10 list. And
What was your number one?
positive conflict resolution. Because my ex-wife and we could never have a calm resolution to any kind of disagreement. And I realized really quickly that there's always going to be conflict in relationships. It's impossible not to have it. But the successful relationships that I have observed and over the years have been the ones that just sit down and talk things through, like we used to say like adults, but most adults don't sit down and talk through things. But they just sit down and go, I want to listen and hear you and respectfully answer your questions, and vice versa. So that was my number one. The second one was must be financially independent. My ex-wife was solely dependent on me financially, and I never thought that set well with me. So I wanted my next partner to be someone that had a career, and that we had shared finances, but either one of us could independently survive. We weren't dependent on each other. So those are kind of so the top 10 list.
I did do a 10 list when I was 46.
There you go.
I got divorced, and I did a top 10 list. One of my girlfriends called it a dream board,
There you go. Yes.
and Stuart matched them all.
Greg matched. Yeah.
Yeah.
We worked together too.
Okay.
So he'd always tell everybody that he's the boss at work and I'm the boss at home. And we were together all the time.
Yes.
And it was wonderful. We enjoyed it.
And I've had several clients who have looked at me in the eye and said, this was the love of my life. There's no way I'll ever find somebody to replace this person. And I look them dead in the eye and say, you're right. You will not find somebody to replace them. You're not supposed to.
Mm-mm.
You're supposed to find somebody different.
Yeah.
And there's somebody out there who will match you, but it will be a different match. So you can still have respect and honor not only yourself, but your grown children, and your grandkids will always then be able to respect the relationship that they saw you had with your late husband. But they can also cherish and respect the new relationship and that they're seeing modeled by you in front of them, where they didn't necessarily see that modeled because they were not born or they were too young to see it modeled. So now you have an opportunity to show them a complete new type of love, a new type of relationship, a new type of how to, friendship, and how that all works out as you get older. I mean, that's a fantastic opportunity. Going back to the opportunity word again.
So have you made changes to handle your grief?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've gotten out,
You specifically mentioned this when we were talking, that, you were handling your grief differently.
Right. I grieved the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I was angry the
Sure.
whole time.
That makes complete sense.
I mean, you're supposed to go through the 5 stages. Well, my 5 stages were grief and anger the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Not anger at him or anything. It was just angry at, one, they didn't understand what you're doing. You're isolated, so you felt.
Are. Nobody understands your pain.
And number 2, they're not going through it, and nobody wants to hear it all the time, right?
That's so back to the alone thing, because you really can't share your feelings because your girlfriends don't really want to know how you truly feel. They ask you how you're feeling, but they don't want you to respond.
Right. And so that was me. Is that what you're asking me?
I mean, but now, how are you? You're moving forward?
Oh yeah, I'm moving forward because I realize I have to. You have 2 choices. You can die with them, or you can move on. And I moved on. Not moved on. I don't like that word. I've learned to carry it, and my grandkids have helped me, a lot, and my kids.
Yes.
That's good. And friends help. And I was telling Tammy last night about, I have some friends going through divorce, and they have started gathering girlfriends to do things with for right now, and not thinking about that they're looking for someone. Correct. They're just getting out there, and that you can go out by yourself, of course. And I know, Tammy, you go to the restaurants and the club by yourself, no problem.
Not club, it's a our country club.
Okay.
I don't go clubbing.
It's the club tonight.
It's the country club, and everybody knows me there, and
it's safe.
It's safe. It's a group of people that come up there every week, and we have fun.
But getting a group of friends to be able to travel, and you never know when you'll run into someone. And so, Tristan, what for somebody sitting at home that's right now thinking, I don't even know where to start. Mm-hmm. What's step 1, or where do they start?
So step 1 is find somebody professionally, truly. Just again, and the reason it's important to find someone professionally is it's non-biased, and you're not bringing in friends and family members into your hurt and pain, and you can be more authentic with that person. I was going to mention, recently I just finished watching The Madison.
I was going to tell you that.
Which was a Taylor Sheridan. Have you watched?
Yes,
have you ladies?
it was wonderful.
Okay, so I see so
actually,
much of this, right? And when she's working with the therapist and she's angry and she's mad and she's like telling the therapist where he can go, that's part of that grieving, but that's the anger she's carrying. And she's not angry at her ex-husband. She's angry at the life that she no longer...
They could have had
that they're not having. And watching her go through that, I just remembered this was one series that I would encourage all of your listeners
It's
to
great.
watch, number one, because it deals with pain and how to go through pain and loss and things of that nature. But it shows you it shows you the impact that it has on the surviving spouse, on their children, and then new people who are sucked into their vortex of pain and suffering and grief, well, unassumingly, right? And how that impacts their lives. So I try to remind my clients that you're grieving, you have a vortex around you, right? The energy vortex. We all have energy vortex. And if it is full of pain and anger and grief and bitterness and resentment, then that's what you're going to attract, unfortunately, and that's what you're going to project. So I'm very attuned to energy. So I'm around a group of people. I can feel that negative energy, and I tend to kind of distance myself from the negative energy. And people who are exuding positive energy, I'm more likely to go and engage them. And a lot of times we forget that. So one of the things, two things, step number one, engage someone professionally so that you can just grieve properly and get somebody to help you just walk with you. That's how I describe myself as a life coach. As a difference of a therapist, I could have gone either way, and I decided life coach because I wanted to walk beside somebody through their life, not just sit in a chair and tell them what to do or ask them questions. There's a big difference between
Or give
the two.
them medication.
That's correct. And for me,
I
I
never
thought
did
me personally, I've had my hand held by people, and it's worked for me. I've also had traditional therapy, and it's worked for me as well. So I think a blend of both is a wise approach to a healthy life,
So
for sure.
one,
is get professional help. Two, hopefully they'll recommend your top 10 list. But even if they don't,
I love the
you
top 10
should do your own top 10 list for yourself, right?
Yes.
And it's not to move on and get to, you're not saying, this is my dream board for my spouse. You're just, for me, Tammy, it was what's important to me right now in my stage of life. I didn't even, and doing
it's a stage too.
It is a
It's like
stage.
where you are at 46. It's one thing. 30.
totally different than 66.
Exactly.
Different stage of life. I will say, though, part of my top 10 in my 6 through 10 and my preferences was similar retirement goals. So I already knew at age 38, my next partner, see, this is the way my brain was. I don't want to get married but one more time. So I'm going to marry someone that has similar retirement goals. So at age 38, when I started dating, that was one of my questions. So I would ask over a coffee date. When I met people for coffee, the questions I asked, our initial coffee date questions, were all my top 10. I would ask them, what do you think about this? Or do you like animals? Do you like traveling? What do you do for a career? I mean,
Grandchildren. Because grandchildren are big. And
They are.
I have seen situations where the grandchildren are an issue.
they can be.
But
Yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. So those are the top two things that I would highly recommend a person do just to help them with their processing.
And in the retirement, and at this level, it is different than when you're younger.
Of course it is.
And there's other things you need to think about too. So healthy, because you marry someone or you become a relationship with someone who then is ill right away, and that I don't want to say rule out people that are going to be sick or ill, but you do have to think about it. And I had a friend who said to me that I need to know that the person I'm with, no matter how old, is always in touch with their health, and they're working out, or they're walking, or they're doing something that is keeping them, even if they do get sick, it's not sick because they're just sitting there.
Right. And that was the number 3 on my list, was must live a healthy lifestyle. Not just want to lose 10 pounds every year at January, but must live a healthy lifestyle. So that was number 3 on my top 10 list. So yes, being able to create this list gives a person an opportunity to sit, evaluate themselves, evaluate what's important in their life right now, whatever age and stage you're in, and create this list. I felt it really got me in tune with who I was. And then when I sat down across the table from other people, I could present to them who I was with confidence. And that was attractive to whoever I sat across the table from.
Yeah, that.
The third piece of advice, and I think it's wise, it's not coming from me, I'm just regurgitating it, all right?
Okay.
But the third piece of advice is that I got was, I was married for 13 years, and my therapist said, you should not date seriously for 13 months. For every year you've been married, you should not date seriously. You can go on dates, you can have fun, you can, have some adult connectivity, but do not agree to be this person's girlfriend or boyfriend for as many years. Now, for someone who's, I've read and studied some more on that, and after 20 years, if someone's been married after 20, they kind of draw the line at 16 to 18 months. So if you've been married for 30 years, you don't need to wait 30 months, but 16 to 18. And this is crucial, and I fully believe in this. It takes a while to fully go through the grieving process, so it's not there anymore. And then it takes you a while to go, who am I? And put your affairs in order, and imagine a year and a half flies by before you realize it. So that time is important, that you just don't jump in to another relationship in a way to sort of mask that pain. That's crucial. A lot of people just immediately, they don't like being alone.
They find someone else right away.
That's correct.
Yes.
Right? And love bombing is a real thing.
Oh, wow.
Right?
What is it?
Love bombing? So, so a good example of love bombing. So, a relationship that's like Tammy's, that's 20, 25, 30 years?
20, over 20.
Okay, over 20 years, right, 20 years. I mean, the love that she and her husband had for each other was one of those really, it was always there. Didn't need to send you 10 texts a day going, I love you, and you're the best thing. And it was just, she knew it, he knew it, they didn't need. So now someone gets divorced, someone's surviving, and so they start dating again. And the new guy or the new girl is sending them 10 texts a day. I love you. I can't wait to see you. You look so hot. Send me a picture, blah, 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 blah. They're constantly validating and seeking affirmation and validating, and you feel, oh, well, this feels good. I mean, I don't remember this wasn't something that was part of my old relationship. It kind of feels nice to be.
We didn't have that.
Right.
I just think it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, it is weird, but for some people, especially people who are seeking that affirmation, they fall for it. So love bombing is a real thing, and that's where that give yourself some time, so that you just don't jump into another relationship, no matter how perfect it sounds. So if you I tell clients, if you meet somebody, on a coffee date, and oh my gosh, they've got 8 of my top 10. That's great. I'm glad you found somebody that you have a lot of stuff in common with. But keep yourself at hand's distance, because you can just get really sucked in there, because we all know there's the honeymoon stage of every new relationship that lasts 6 to 8 months.
What's it called?
The honeymoon phase.
honey.
And the honeymoon phase, you don't see the red flags or the orange flags or the yellow flags. You just see the love bombing, and it feels great, and it's euphoric, and we all fall for it. It's not gender specific. We all fall for it. So that third piece of advice is give yourself time to heal and to rediscover yourself. And the right person will come at the right time and really come out of nowhere if it's done right.
Wow.
Interesting.
So I really appreciate you coming on here, both of you. Tammy, to tell us your deepest emotion right now, and Tristan to really give us a different take. I mean, have you thought of some of the things that Tristan has said? I know I haven't, and I really can't wait to tell a couple of my girlfriends, watch out for that love bombing.
Well, I knew what that was anyway, just having kids and,
Sure.
But I probably would steer away if they were sending me 10 texts a day.
It's like,
I'd be like, peace out.
I get it.
it's a little over the top obsessive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal, and I think y'all ladies already know this, and I'm probably your listeners do too. There are not a lot of good guys out there.
Oh, that's real encouraging.
No, I mean, I'm just being honest. They're not. But there's also not a lot of good ladies out there either for my male clients. We talk about this. That's probably one of the biggest things we talk about is, well, where do I find these people, right? Because there's not a lot of healthy people. I'm not just talking about physically healthy. I'm talking about mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally healthy. And so it's important that if we feel that we're healthy, that we protect that health.
I tell my friends
number
that.
one thing is to protect your mental,
Be happy
emotional,
with yourself.
and physical health.
Like yourself.
Correct.
Have a good time with yourself.
Go get your hair done. Go get your nails done. I did that.
Yes.
And traveled, and that's pulled me out of it.
Exactly.
Well, once again, I really do appreciate both of you.
Thank you for having
And
me.
Tristan,
Tammy,
you're
for
always great when you come on here.
Oh,
thank you.
You're sweet.
And life may not look like the plan you wrote years ago, not for anybody, but that doesn't mean it can't still be meaningful. It can be full of connection and purpose and even joy. You're not starting over. You're starting forward. And we're right here with you. And for all of you who like our content and our guests, please support the program by buying our merchandise and checking us out on Retired Life, WYW. I forgot my letters.
You're fine. You get to start again. That's the beauty of this, right?
Right?
And for those of you who like our program and like our content and our guests, please support us by checking out our merchandise on retiredlifewywh.com. And always remember to subscribe, like, and follow by pushing those little buttons on the bottom. Thank you.